Thank you. That was an excellent introduction. Ma'am, could I have a copy of that? I want to give it to my mother-in-law. She never thinks high of me at all. I think it's very useful. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to start off with a warning. In addition to being a digital entrepreneur, I'm also a professor. And you know what that means? Professors are very good at putting people to sleep. Dr. Ajanta, you're nodding? That's good. And this is the graveyard session right after lunch. So that's going to be very interesting. So I want to request all the camera person to really focus hard on people sleeping, and we'll show the footages right after the end of the talk. I'm going to start off with 3 stories, 3 real-time stories, and see if you can catch a trend. About a decade ago, I co-organized a conference called WikiCamp. It is Asia's largest conference for Wikipedia editors and users. And we felt, who better to be the chief guest than the founder of Wikipedia himself, Jimmy Wales. We extended an invite, and it was very nice of him to accept the invitation, and he flew over. And just like us, all Southeast Asians, we are really good at hospitality. We could have put him in a 5-star hotel, but we wanted to give him the Indian experience. So what did we do? And I said, would you like to come and stay at a middle-class Indian's house so you could experience what Indian life is? And that's how we came and stayed at my house for 3 nights. Now, during those conversations or lunch and dinner, I wanted to take the opportunity to interview him for a column I was writing for the Hindu Business Line, one of India's well-known business newspapers. And I figured I'll ask him questions about how did he manage to build one of the world's largest websites, right? It's just insane how popular, it still is popular now, in spite of ChatGPT and the likes, but back about 10, 12 years back, it was even more bigger. And his answers absolutely shocked me. And this is what he told me. When he started off as Newpedia. It first started off with a version of what's called WikiWiki, and then changed its name to Newpedia. And the way how Newpedia functions is just like any other magazine. He would hire people who are experts in one line of field. They would get paid to come and write a very authoritative explanation on that particular subject. And they were able to raise millions of dollars in funding, which means that they could afford to pay fancy rates to experts to come and write. But on one fine day, on September 11, 2001, or was it 2000? 2 planes went and hit 2 tall buildings. And not only did the buildings come crashing down, so did the economy. And that was also the start of the dot-com bust. Many companies started to flounder, they went belly up, and the investors that invested into Wikipedia all decided to take their money back. So Jimmy Wales, all his vision of building one of the world's most authoritative website was left in the lurches. His pocket was completely empty. So he had 2 choices. Choice number 1, the easy one, is to shut down just like how thousands of other web companies were getting shut down. Easy decision. Fire all the staff, close down the company, and carry on with life. Option number 2, somehow, try and save the company. And because he was truly passionate about building a world of knowledge, he wanted to build something that can be a single repository of the collection of all knowledge of humans together. And he decided, let me try another technique. He changed the coding in such a way that any person can go and edit. They can add, they can edit, they can delete any content on the page. And he went and stood in front of people and said, if you are passionate about what you're doing, if you truly believe in the subject, then this is your home. Please go and share all the knowledge that you have. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what created the world's richest and the most exhaustive repository of knowledge. So much so that when Wikipedia launched in 2 years' time, Microsoft had to shut down its division called Encarta. Imagine how much Microsoft had money, like deep, they had to shut down. Britannica Encyclopedia, with over 165 years of experience, and you see these fancy Britannica Encyclopedia books that you keep on shelves, where you keep it and never touch it again in your life, that business just completely went poop. All because a guy decided, hey, I have no money, it's yours. That's a powerful lesson for us today in the civil services conference here, because Jimmy Wales said, had this crisis not happened, I would have continued with the way how businesses were running, which is continue to pay writers and editors. And eventually, one day, I would have run out of money. But because I was pushed to the wall, I was forced to trust in people, I was forced to tap into the wisdom of the crowd. And that's what made Wikipedia successful. For all of us here, and this is a very powerful group of people sitting out here, because we have the power within our hands to make it happen. Whether it's in islands, whether it's in councils, if we can find a way to tap into the wisdom of our people, imagine what magic can happen. Right? So that's story number one. But it's not finished yet. Let me ask you another question. I want you to take your right hand. Can everybody take your right hand? Yeah? And I want to keep it in your heart. And then only raise your left hand if you have contributed something to Wikipedia, which means you should have gone to Wikipedia, clicked on edit button, and typed something of value. Raise your hands if you've done that. Be absolutely honest to yourself. Look at this. Right? Thank you. This is the creme de la creme of the Maldivian society. Extremely educated, truly passionate about your country, and you've made the cut amongst so many people. You are at the cream. And yet, in a hall full of people, I see like 7 to 8% of the people raise their hands for people who are willing to go on. But if I asked you this question, how many of you have used Wikipedia? I bet 100% of you would have raised your hands. So there is a huge shift between taking in knowledge and contributing back in terms of knowledge. So this is a wake-up call for all of us. We have technology available for us, but how many of us are practitioners of knowledge? For example, I've been here for the last 2 weeks, and I went and spoke, and I did training programs for some of the leading hospitality brands in Maldives. TripAdvisor is considered to be a path-breaking website for many hotels and resorts. You would agree, right? But yet, when I ask people how important is TripAdvisor to your resort, 100% of the people raise their hands. But when I ask the question, how many of you have an account in TripAdvisor? How many of you have ever left a review in your life? The same percentage of people raise their hand. You see a pattern there? I think we need to break that pattern, right? For all of us out there. That's story number one. The story number two that I want to share is something that happened in Paris. It's about 13 years ago, on a cold, rainy night. There was this massive conference of designers who decided to meet for a really large conference. And in the conference were two people, Travis Kalanick and Gareth Camp. Both of them are Americans. And they flew in to participate in this massive design conference. It's a one-day conference. The conference closes at 5 o'clock. And at 5 o'clock, 1,700 people stream out of the hotel and they find their way out. For Parisians who live in the city, they all had cars. They would take their car, and they would just drive out. For people who had come in from other countries, they were standing on the curbside at the hotel, trying to flag down a taxi that was going by. He noticed something very interesting. The people who had their cars, which is people who are living in Paris, were all driving in their cars out of the hotel and going by. Just them driving, and 3 seats were empty. And then on this side was a long queue of people waiting for the cab. And Travis Kalanick is thinking, this is odd. There's so many empty seats, so many people wanting rides. Would it not be nice for somebody to stop and tell these people, hey, you've been standing here for a long time. I'm actually going down this path. Is anyone wanting to go? I can drop you along. And I'm sure had people stopped and had the courtesy to ask, many of the people standing in line, many of them coming from outside the country to France, it would have been really helpful. And that is how the idea of Uber came about. And Travis felt, that if there was a situation where we are able to connect people who have cars and people who need rides, and that changed the entire industry. It's a $140 billion company right now. Who in their mind would have thought that someone who's trying to make ends meet as a software guy would go on to build one of the most sought-after companies, one of the most valuable companies in the world? Again, the lesson out here is always look for pain points. Anytime there is a discomfort, anytime you're feeling that, man, I wish somebody else could have found out the problem, there is an opportunity. And I think that's an amazing lesson that we can all learn from Travis Kalanick. Let me go to my third story. I'm from India. I hail from a very remote picture postcard village. It's a very, very tiny village. I run an organic farm, a 13-acre farm. And this is 2 kilometers away from the closest village. Like as remote as you can imagine. You know what's interesting? People who come there to work on the fields, these are villagers who would come to plow, to weed, to fertilize. Every single person has an Android phone. Every single person. And I want you to, there is a difference between the Maldivian society and the Indian society because the digital divide in India is massive, considering the large population that we have. I saw on the slide, Maldives has 98% literacy. We cannot boast of that in India. Many of the people who come and work in the fields still do not know how to read or write. Now, I'm talking about such people who still have a smartphone in their hands. And the biggest difference that I see is started by one guy called Vijay Shekhar Sharma. Let's call him for short Vijay. Many years back, he started a company called Paytm. That's like ATM, it is Paytm. And he revolutionized the way how all Indians now transact. As I'm standing with you right now, I do not have a wallet. In fact, in most times that I step out of my home, I don't bother carrying a wallet because cash is so archaic, cash is so old. Almost everyone out there, if you have a mobile phone with a 4G or 5G connection, you can carry on with your life as if it's just perfectly normal. You want to go buy like a single piece of chocolate, like the chocolate that you have in your table, and you want to buy that. I don't know how much that is. Let's say that it's 50 paisa. I don't know how much is in rupiah. Like a very, very small amount. You can still scan a code and transfer. You want to get a flight ticket to the US? That's about $700. Sure, you can scan and you can pay. It doesn't matter how small an amount. And the biggest difference that's happened is the issue of change has almost completely disappeared in the Indian context. You want to pay someone 27 rupees? Perfect. There's no point in asking for change. But because paying from one person to another person became so seamless, and I'll tell you, this is where the government came in. This is where the IAS officers, the Indian Administrative Services, which is the equivalent of our Maldives Civil Services Commission, they stepped in and they made a massive impact. You know what they did? The IAS officers figured that what Vijay has done can make a massive difference. But the IAS officers or civil servants are not technology folks. They don't understand technology, but they do understand the impact of what technology can make. So what did they do? They looked around and they hired a person called Nandan Nilekani. Nandan co-founded Infosys, which is one of the best IT companies in India, one of the largest in India. And he had given up a CEO position because of leadership transition. They reached out to him and said that, and they gave him a ministerial berth. I mean, he was considered like a minister, and he was given the authority of working on the UPI, the Unified Payment Interface. And he put all of his technology prowess, and he built himself a solid team with the best, not just best people in India, but best people in the West, best people around the world. And he put together a crack of a team. And his goal was, no matter which bank you had your account in, if you want to pay money to another person, it should happen instant, it should happen seamless, and it should be super secure. It's now changed the face of India. And you know what's the best part? Because there was like billions of these micro payments that is happening, this cash transaction has almost disappeared. And you know what happens when cash transaction disappears? Your black money slowly starts to find its way out. When every single money, small or big, is tracked, then everything is accounted for. And ever since this UPI, the Unified Payment Interface, was initiated, you will see that the tax collection really started to go up. What a fabulous thing. And India wasn't the first one to do. In fact, Kenya has been leading all the Western countries by over 10 years. They were the first to come up with this SMS-based payment. So sometimes what we have to do is we look too much to the West. You know, we look at the US, we look at Australia, and we always try and ape what's best for them. Actually, some of the best solutions, some of the best ideas are amongst us. And if we can find them and utilize, that'll be amazing. So my question here is, I told you 3 stories so far. What are the 3 stories? What's the first story that I told you? The Wikipedia. What's the second story? That of Uber. What's the third story? That of Paytm, right? What I want you to do is, I want you to sit around, I want you to take 2 minutes, okay? In your table as you're sitting by, I want you to take 2 minutes. I want one person to be a silent observer. And I want you to discuss what are some of the action items that we as civil servants here can put into action that we have learned from these 3 fabulously successful stories. 2 minutes, the time starts now, go. We'll have microphones that will come floating by, and I want an idea from each table to say, what is your takeaway from this talk, and what are ideas that is implemented? Remember, I told you, whether it's Maldivians, whether we are Indians or Sri Lankans, one of the things that plagues us, we are very good at listening, but we are not very good at contributing back. Case in point is Wikipedia. So I want you to now take this opportunity to break that myth, discuss amongst you, and I'll give you 120 seconds, and let's see which table is able to come up with the best idea on how this can be implemented in the Maldivian society. The time starts now, go. One person be the silent observer and write down the ideas that others are discussing. One person. Select who that person is. And can we have microphones floating around, please? Handle microphones. Yeah? Okay, thanks. All right, thank you. Your time is up. It's 2 minutes, right? 2 minutes. So let's see which table wants to go first. Raise your hands. I have a lot of respect for when somebody can raise your hands and speak. Who's ready? What were you guys discussing? Which web series to watch on Netflix? What's wrong with you guys? Okay, who wants to go? Let's go. Come to this table here. Can we get the microphone to the first table on the left? Yes, sir. Could you just introduce yourself? And can we have the camera folks just point out, focus on the person speaking, please? Thank you.
Now it's on.
Yeah.
It seems that I am the person who always break the ice. So
Right.
thank you for that.
Sure.
In our team, I wasn't talking, unusual of me. And they had 2 ideas. We didn't have much time. One of them is they wanted a complaint-free system in the civil service. Then the other one is...
Hang on. Complaint-free system in civil service. So there is no way complaints can be avoided. Is there a way how we can capture those complaints?
Yeah, there must be a way.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Just like how in France, there is a brilliant system called Fix My Road. It's actually a website called Fix My Road, which means anytime you're going and you hit a pothole, you find a cracked road or a hole in the road, what you do is, all you have to do is just take your phone, take a photo and send it to a WhatsApp number. And because the phone already has your latitude and longitude, and you will be sent a ticket saying that you send this photo on this day at this time, and we are alerting, and you will get a response saying by when that pothole in the road will be fixed. Right? So the first one, and I love that idea of yours, which is we can never get away from expectations, we can never get away from complaints. But what we can do is we can find a way to collect the complaints and fix them. And that is what will buy confidence from people. Right? Thank you so much, sir. That was wonderful. Thank you. Who wants to go next? Give him a big round of applause, please. Yeah. Be very generous. That's awesome. Very hardly in a large auditorium like this, it can be intimidating to speak first, sir. So you have my respect. Thank you. Let's go there. There was a lady out there who raised her hand. Oh, we have a lady here as well. Let's do that after this. Yes.
So being the only lady in this group, I was silent, listening to their discussion. I think most of them are from the councils. So the idea that came up from them was we have a portal called Banderi portal, for which all the government payments have to be paid to now. So apparently the councils don't have access to it. So the idea is to give the councils the access of Banderi portal.
Okay. Got it. Thank you so much for that. Kudos to the team. So give them a big round of applause. I think that's good. Thank you. Let's go to table here on the extreme left. Let's have a microphone that will magically come.
Hi. From our table, we were talking about withholding information. I think it's a disease we all have. I have the greatest idea in my mind, but I am not going to share it because this is ours. I mean, we all represent civil service, right? But then why it's ours? It's a we, right? It should be. So in order to resolve it, we were thinking about having a reward system. Anybody who comes up with a good idea and who share it, have a platform to share it, get a reward. A monetary reward, because human beings are motivated in two ways. One is intrinsic, another is extrinsic. So this is an extrinsic reward, and intrinsic can be people notice the individual as well. So both is coming in one way.
Yeah. So giving a nice reward is a good way of collecting. Give it up for the fantastic team. Yes, ma'am, we'll get you to it. I mean, the women are kicking ass in this hall. Men, what is wrong with you? Let's go to the very end. Yes. Yeah. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. Actually, in this group, we were discussing about HR systems. We have geographical boundaries across the nation, and every individual office needs an HR system. So if you could come up with one HR system from NICT, national, which can be used
What does NICT
nationwide.
expand to?
Sorry?
What does NICT expand to for the benefit of all of us?
NCIT, sorry.
Okay, NCIT.
National Center for Information Technology.
Got it.
So if they could come up with one HR software which includes everything that we need, including salary, performance, reward, which we need, I think it will be a great idea. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. This table, please, could you just stand up so the mic will come to you. So interestingly, day before yesterday, New York City Council has made it mandatory for all employers to disclose the salary that they're paying to everyone. Can you believe that? I mean, that's the level of transparency somebody is talking about. Yes, ma'am, go for it. Your name and what do you do?
My name?
Yeah.
Manha.
What do you do?
I'm the acting SG for the Fuledu Council.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay, so my team discussed about a QR scan system where it is easy to access, and it is also a secure and private way for the citizens to pay. And it can also help reduce theft and cut down illegal activities such as scams, fake currencies such as fake dollar notes and rupiah, and could also help cut down on the what was it drug transactions. That's what we discussed.
Yeah,
for our team.
brilliant, brilliant, excellent one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give it up. So the good thing is, they say that, Steve Jobs' fantastic words, like, always steal the best ideas, right? It's not the first person who comes up with ideas who is usually successful. It's the person who understands the idea, understands the audience, and then customizes the solution and gives it up is usually the one that makes it best. Apple was not the company that made smartphones. They came in much, much later. But they learned from BlackBerry. They learned from the LGs of the world. But look at them. They built one of the best phones in the world. So the idea is, for the Maldivian government, there are other countries that have really aced the system that she just spoke about. So it is so much more easier for us to take inspiration and apply it quickly and fasten this pace. Thank you so much. That's a good one. We'll take one last one. Who wants to go? Okay, let's go here to this table here.
Okay, I was the silent person here in this group. We discussed, what was discussed was actually the app is already being used. A civil servant, it seems, developed this app. Guardia, it's called. It's used to deliver stuff. So the discussion was here that most people participating here are secretary generals from councils. It's very difficult logistically to get our goods or whatever services that we need to get from Malé to the islands, like whatever, even papers, whatever needed for the office also. So if the civil service, the whole community can have an app where it can be delivered to the Doni from the island to everybody, like that. So that was the app that was discussed.
Beautiful, beautiful. I liked one of the presentations that was done earlier, where they said that, if you're talking about, thank you, Yushu? Yeah, it's a brilliant one, because if you can match the services of an e-commerce company, that's pretty much what we as a government, we need to do, which is listen to people, take in the complaint, take action, and keep them informed. I mean, sure, it sounds very simple when I say this, much difficult to put into action, but if we can nail that would be absolutely amazing, right? So let's talk about what are the benefits, right? So we all discussed about, if you look at all the ideas that you came across, first one is that efficiency increases, whether it is monetary transaction, whether it is trying and solving people's problems, and whenever efficiency increases, always happiness sets in. People are satisfied with what we're doing. By being transparent, it's also a brilliant way for you to build credibility amongst people, right? And that is something that money can't buy. You can only perform and show by action, but it's a great way to do that. And of course, when you do this, when you leverage technology, you improve public services, and consequently, the byproduct of all of that is society as a whole will bubble to the top, right? And everyone benefits. However, if this was so easy, all of us would have done it by now, right? But it's not easy. The reason is because for many of us, we need to take an extra effort. We need to be conscious about imbibing these, right? So just a case in point. Do you know what is the latest version of ChatGPT? What's the latest version of ChatGPT? It's 4.0. The previous one was ChatGPT 3.5. I always compare this to a Richter scale. In a Richter scale that measures earthquakes, the difference between 6 and 6.5 is massive, right? It could be just 0.5, but the destruction that 0.5 can create is massive. And I compare that the same thing with ChatGPT. The difference between 3.5 and 4 is just humongous, right? I mean, this is at a scale that our human mind can never fathom. And this is 2024. Now imagine just 1 year from now, right? Where will generative AI will proceed? And it is always those people who are at the cutting edge of new technology who have the mindset to go and read up and to ask themselves the question, all right, now this is a great technology, this is a great app, this is a great tool. How do I put this to use? First, how do I learn about it and have the humility to go and say, I do not know? Have the humility to go and learn from somebody who's 20 years younger for you to master that tool. Second, take the time and effort to master. Right? So I want to give you an example. That's Afif Hussain, who's sitting out there. He's the founding president of MAP. Yesterday, I find that he spends 4 hours a day learning from a trainer from Malaysia on how to become a good coach. This is someone who holds a senior position in a large hospitality brand. This is someone who has built so many communities out there. But to have the commitment to go and invest 4 hours in a day, which is you're really taking your ego aside, you're putting it out, becoming a student, going out there and submitting yourself to the master to say that I want to get better. That's the mindset I think all of us need to develop, right? Let's give it up. Yeah. The second one is the beauty of technology is that it gives us massive amounts of data, right? Massive amounts of data. 10 days back, I was staying at a resort, about 40 minutes boat ride from here, a very plush, posh one. And I was sitting with the person who handles data, who looks at all the statistics. And my mind was blown. I was having coffee with him yesterday evening. And he's opening up a chart that is able to analyze the customer feedback ratings from all the guests in the month of May. And then it is able to say that customers who came and landed at Velana Airport between this time to this time were unhappy with the service, but customers who came at a later time were happy with the service. And what did it boil down to? It boiled down to that specific set of people who were not doing their job. Now, the hospitality brand can take constructive action. They can find out who are the people who are not doing their job very well. They can give them extra service. If things don't work out, they can go find another job. You see that? The level of detail that data can really go in and proceed is just humongous. And the best part, there are world-class tools that are going to help us out. And the third and the fourth one is very important, right? Which is, we are all out here to serve the country. We are all here to serve people. Now, the best way to that is to find out what is it that people need. And that's where the collaborative culture needs to come in, right? Anytime we get to a position of power, and this is not just here, anywhere in the world, whether it's a corporate company, whether it's a government service, or an NGO, the minute you come to a position of power, the higher up you go, the lower down you will look down. It's a natural human instinct. You've reached that position because of your talent, because of your skill, because of your hard work. You're better than so many other people. It is instinctively normal to give directions, to tell them that is what they need to do. And it requires, dare I say the word, maturity, to open up ourselves and say that, what do you think? What do you want? How can we do this better? Do you have ideas how this can be done better? And that openness and inclusiveness, I think, is what will really go very well as the world progresses. And with 4G, with all the openness coming in, people are getting smarter and smarter and smarter, and the old way of mechanism will no longer work. Take Estonia, for example. Have you heard of this Estonia's e-residency program? This was started almost like about 7 years ago, and they have milked it like crazy. Estonia was nowhere in the picture in terms of place where people want to go in and settle down or do business with. In fact, if I asked you to point out Estonia on a map right now, most of you will fail. But yet, Estonia as a country has really gone ahead and made a solid mark in attracting some of the best talent, the best brains in the world. How? And they said, listen, you want to start a global company, you're running a business in your country, it could be Maldives, in my case, I could be in India. Do you want to find a foothold in Europe? Great. Don't worry about coming to Europe, starting a new office, hiring people up. We will help you out. All you have to do is apply for an e-residency program, and through a single window system, we will ensure that all paperwork is done. Your banking system, your paperwork, your office, your address, whatever schemes that are available through a single window system. And you get to enjoy the benefits as if you were physically in Estonia and enjoying the benefits. And it has boosted the company's economy. Why? Because the civil servants at that point in time, 7 years back, it was not the politicians who went and did it. It was the civil servants that found out that this is going to be a game changer for the country. They proposed the idea, it got approved by the parliament, and look at them now. You go to Singapore and assume there's a baby, a newborn baby born today. As soon as the baby is born, there is an account created for the baby. There is a birth certificate, digital birth certificate that comes in, and research shows that in 3.5 years' time, the baby will grow up and will join kindergarten. And the kindergarten planning system is already kicking in because the data is fed back into it. And what does the baby need? What is the, all of the data is all fed into a central system. That any department you go from then onwards, it becomes super smooth, super seamless. Any government service, you don't have to. Like one of the grouses that you do is, we Indians, we think we're good at technology. Heck, we have some of the world's largest technology companies. But you know what pisses me off? You walk into these swanky buildings, IT companies, and as soon as you go into as a visitor, you go into the IT company. At the security gate, they'll open up a register and ask you to write your name and which company you're from, who do you want to meet. And then you walk 30 steps in, you go to another building, he'll have another register, ask you to do that. Like, whoa, that's not cutting it right? So how do you make it seamless? In Singapore, you get one ticket, and with that one ticket, you want to ride the tram, you want to go by bus, you want to go by a ferry, it just becomes like super seamless, right? And all that is because of the sensor platform that it's all integrated well within. Why do I say this? Not because I want to praise Singapore, because Singapore is making life so much easy for us. They're saying, hey, we did all the R&D, we invested billions of dollars, we slogged it out, and we were able to crack the code. All we have to do is, there is this mythical creature in Indian mythology, right? It is called Annapparavai. What's an Annapparavai? Annapparavai is like a crane, like a bird. That when you give, his favorite drink for it to drink is milk. And so somebody went and served a milk, and then the next day he did not have enough milk, so what he did was he poured water and diluted it and gave it milk. But you know what this mythical bird has? The mythical bird has the ability, and when it's able to drink, it will only take the milk elements and it will leave out the water. And I think that's what we should do in society as well. Can we look around and look at which country is doing the best, world best standards? And which are the ones that we can be inspired by? I'm not saying we should copy. I'm saying, can we get inspired and can we customize it for our local community? I think that's an important lesson that I wanted to do. In South Korea, it is the AI system is absolutely amazing. In fact, in one of the, if you go to Seoul, there are AI that has been put into practical use, right? So for example, I'm from India, and I'm going to South Korea for the very first time. I'm walking into this restaurant. And the restaurant, even though I'm walking into the restaurant for the very first time, it will know that my favorite is peanuts when it comes to nuts. My least favorite is walnuts. It will know that I'm interested in farming and I like to eat organic food. It will know that I'm a professional speaker and I would love to go and meet other professional speakers in and around. So with all of this data, which is highly customized for one person, that is me, and they are now able to devise a menu card that only shows things that are of interest to me. It is not a generic menu card. If one of you came in and dined at that restaurant, your menu card will be very different to the one that I got. Why? Because it is able to identify who you are, and we as people have left tremendous amount of digital footprints everywhere. Like today, you must have left at least about 500 digital footprints. Every time you access Instagram, every time you watch news, every time you watch Netflix, every email that you sent, every WhatsApp message you sent, you're telling something about yourself. You're telling about what you like, what you don't like, and it's all in the public platform. There's nothing like invasion of privacy. But because we all leave digital footprints, we can now are able to ultra customize to your needs, and that's going to massively change the way how governments will function in the future. So, we understand that digital transformation is written on the wall. There is no escaping it. If you want to get better, this is the way how you do it. But to do that, these are the 5 items in my mind. So the first one is, I think we got to have just the vision and the sheer commitment. Just like the way, you sit and wonder. I actually am amazed at Elon Musk. I think he's a horrible communicator. Have you ever seen Elon Musk speak? I mean, the guy, you would think that he can't put 3 sentences together coherently. That's because he thinks faster than what he can speak. And then you wonder, how is he able to build multi-billion-dollar companies around? And then there was one person who was able to figure out the code. There was actually a researcher, I think, in Cornell University, and was saying that one of the reasons why he's able to fire up his team is because he always lays out a vision that is larger than normal. What's the vision for his rocket company? What's the vision for SpaceX? It is not to fly the rocket to Mars. That's like Dr. Ajanta saying, if you want to build a ship, don't focus on the nails and the planks, focus on the desire of sailing. So you know what Elon Musk did? Elon Musk said, I want to make the humanity, the humankind, multi-planetary. And he's saying that one day we're going to self-destruct. And when a time comes like that, I want the humankind to continue living. And the only way humans will survive the future is if they can find a place to live in different planets. I mean, look at that. Now, that is someone that people can get absolutely vision from. Do you know that the Tesla cars, until now, they are amongst the best electrical vehicles around in the market? Do you know that the blueprint for Tesla cars has been open sourced? Like the entire technology and the system has been open sourced, and any person can take it, and the people who took maximum advantage are the Chinese car manufacturers. But look at the magnanimity of the guy. And they're saying that, listen, I am out here, of course I want Tesla and Tesla shareholders to become successful, rich, but I also want, there's a purpose in my life. I want humanity to get better. And if more people start driving EV vehicles, that's going to save the environment, right? And so you got to have that kind of a, can I think larger than what it is out there? And the only way you can really start building is by, like I told you, that just be absolutely incessantly in pursuit of the next big thing. Continuous learning. Keep investing in yourself. So can I ask, do you know what percentage of money is plowed into research and development in a company? and what percentage of money is plowed into marketing? R&D will be difficult for you to answer, but do you know, can you tell me, and there are quite a few of us from corporate companies, what percentage of a company's profits, not revenue, what percentage of a company's profit is segmented for marketing? Can someone tell me? About 30%? That's right about it. It's around 25% of the money is actually plowed back into the company. I want you to think of your own salary. You all know what that is, how much you are earning per month. Ask yourself the question, are you spending 25% of your salary on improving yourself? If your answer is, Kiruba, are you nuts? Then it's time to wake up. How many books did we buy? How many courses did we subscribe to? Do you know that Harvard University, the best in the world, Stanford University, one of the best in the world, have open sourced their courses on edX and Coursera? It costs $120,000 to go and study in Harvard. And the courses are open sourced for you to watch sitting in your island. How many of us have even bothered to go sign up? So the knowledge is amazing. What really matters is how many of us are taking the effort to go and do it. So you got to, one of the things, the reason why Google is so ultra successful is because of one easy decision, actually one gutsy decision that the company took, which is you can either use 20% of your time working hours to do a passion project, or you can take 1 day off out of 5 days to work on a project that you're passionate about. Just imagine that. If we in our company went and did something that we liked for 20%, I think we'll be taken to task. I know in the companies that I work with, my boss would not be happy. But that's what Google took a call. They're saying that, listen, 20%, no questions asked, either 1 day in a week or 2 hours in a day, you can go and pursue any project. That's how Gmail was born. That's how Google Maps was born. That's how Orkut was born. So if you look at all money-spinning properties of Google, they all came from this 20% project. Right? So the best way to do that is to keep ideating, keep experimenting. There's this beautiful experiment that was done by a university. And so there were 20 students in one class and 20 students in another class. Okay? So these are all around 15-year-olds. And this was the task that was given. You know what the task is? They will be given 5 days. The task given to class number 1 is to take the very best photo that you can. So the task is focused on what's the best photo that you can take. The second one, class, was judged on the maximum number of photos they can take. So the second guys were told, you will not be judged for anything else. All I want you to do is just take as many photos as you can. And after the end of the 5 days, when they did the calculation, guess which team got the best photos? It's the team that was focused on taking as many photos. Because the more photos you take, the better you get, and you can iterate. I think that's what we should do. This is public-private partnership. Railways is huge in India. A large population of people actually travel using Indian railway system. So they felt that in the railway stations and in the trains, people felt like a lot of people were killing their time, or they didn't have any access to phones. I'm talking about 10 years back. Now, of course, everybody has 5G connection. But back in 10 years back, they weren't. And less people had Android phones. So what did they do? Google went to the Indian government and said, I'd like to Wi-Fi all the railway stations across India. And there's lots. Indian Railways is the largest in the world. And they said, we're going to Wi-Fi and we're going to Wi-Fi the trains. Now, the government could have said, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Step aside. You are a corporate company and you are a profit-making company. Don't come and interfere. You step away. You do what you're doing. This is government, this is people, I know best. Very easy to say that. But you know what they said? He said, even if I wanted to try, I may not be best at it, so let's partner. There was a brilliant combination of private and public partnership that turned out to be very, very successful. And the last one is involve citizens in design, and we saw about the power of social media. We've seen multiple examples of how they've been super, super successful. The minute you open it up to people and take ideas, it has never, ever failed, right? So I wanted to say, with that, I wanted to say that in conclusion, these are the three things. One, I cannot emphasize the importance of focusing on the digital mindset. And the only way you can focus on digital mindset is by being open to learning and being open to experimenting. Second, take the best examples of what other countries have done, other people have done, and take inspiration, customize it for Maldives. And the third one is work with that larger vision of making it super successful for the people of Maldives. What is that big, hairy, audacious goal? And One Gov is a fantastic initiative. If that can be expanded, nothing like it. I started by saying, as a professor, it's very dangerous to put someone right after lunch. I wanted to say thank you for not sleeping. Thank you so much. Thank you.